Well, good day to you and welcome to our next installment. I'm still speaking to you on haste, which is a disease of our time. Today I want to speak to you on installment number two. And the topic for today is I want to say to you that haste and speed is a fallacy of so-called wealth. The Harvard Business Review recently conducted a study on the change in social status in the United States. And it is used to be that leisure was a sign of wealth. People with more money spent their time doing things such as playing tennis, sailing on their sailboat, sipping white wine during lunch at the golf club. But we see that all of that has changed. Now we see that busyness has become a sign of wealth. You even see this cultural shift if you look at the advertising business. Commercials and magazines have ads for luxury items like a Maserati or a Rolex, used to show the rich sitting by a pool at the beach or in the south of France. Now they are more likely to show the wealthy in New York or downtown Los Angeles leading a meeting from a high-rise office, going out for a late-night drink at a trendy club, or traveling the world. You see, if we look at this, we realize that a century ago, the less that you worked, the more status you had. Now that has been turned around completely. The more you sit around and relax, the less status you now have. And this has become one of the lies of our time that has brought about a lot of deception concerning the quality of life that we are living. The concept of haste or speed became a fallacy of wealth, suggests that the pursuit of rapidity or haste is sometimes mistaken as a symbol or an indicator of wealth or success. In contemporary society, there's often an emphasis on speed and efficiency, especially within the business and technology environment. However, we must understand that this emphasis on speed can lead to a fallacy wherein people equate being busy or constantly moving quickly with being successful or wealthy, when in reality, true wealth and success involves a much more balanced approach that includes careful consideration, strategic planning, and mindful decision making rather than just rapid action. Not surprisingly, over time we've seen the death of the keeping of the Sunday or the Sabbath in most believers' lives. If you look until the 1960s and even in some urban places, as recently as the 1990s, certain laws forced businesses to close on a Sabbath or on a Sunday, which was a government mandated speed limit on the pace of life. My dad used to tell me stories about growing up in the 30s and 40s and how the entire town would shut down at 6 on weekdays and all days on Sundays. You couldn't do a thing on Sunday, everything was closed. Nothing was open but the church. And nobody went out to go for brunch or visit the sports game, much less, even so, go shopping. Now, can you imagine that happening in your city in which you are living today? I cannot. We have come to see how in one generation, Sunday evolved from a day of rest and worship of the Lord to a day to buy more nonsense and crap that we don't need, to run errands, to go out for lunch or for brunch, or to just start working so that you can get a jump start on your week, on the work for your week that lies ahead. Sadly, we see that our culture never even slowed down long enough to ask ourselves, what will this new pace of life do to our souls? Now, there's a guy called Andrew Sullivan that wrote an essay in the New York Times magazine entitled, "I Used to Be a Human Being." And he made a very provocative analysis. And he made the following analysis. He said that Judeo-Christian tradition recognized the critical distinction and tension between noise and silence, between getting through the day and getting a grip on one's whole life. The Sabbath, the Jewish institution co-opted by Christianity, was a moment of calm to reflect on our lives under the light of eternity. It helped define much of Western public life once a week for centuries, only to dissipate with scarcely a passing regret into the commercial cacophony of the past couple of decades. It reflected a now battered belief that the sustained spiritual life is simply unfeasible for most mortals without these refuges from noise and work to buffer us and remind us of who we really are. We have lost more than a day of rest. We have actually lost a day for our souls to open up and to wait upon the Lord. Very interesting. The year 2007 is the year that the iPhone was released and launched into this world. What is also significant to note about that date is that it was also a few months later that we see that Facebook opened up to anybody that had an email address. Then we see the application, Twitter, became on its own platform. It was year one of the cloud, along with the application store. It's the year where the Intel switched from silicon to metal chips to keep Moore's law on the roll and a list of other technological breakthroughs. All of this happened around 2007, which was the official start date of the digital age. So we see now that the world has radically changed in a few short years. In very recent times, none of us had a smartphone or even Wi-Fi access. Now we can't imagine living without these things. The internet alone has changed the world, and surely so, not for the better. Depending on who you talk to, it's decreasing our IQs, or at least our capacity to actually focus and pay attention. There's a Pulitzer Prize book that was nominated called The Shallows. It was written by Nicholas Carr. And it's about what the internet is doing to our brains. Is still the seminal work on this evolution. In this book he wrote, what the net seems to be doing is chipping away my capacity for concentration and contemplation. Whether I'm online or not, my mind now expects to take in information the way that the net distributes it, in a swiftly moving stream of particles. Once I was a scuba diver in a sea of words. Now I zip along the surface like a guy on a jet ski. There's so much truth in what this guy is saying. And the sad part of it is that the smartphone now put the internet right there in our front pockets, and some of you carry it in your back pocket. A recent study found that the average smartphone user touches his or her phone 2,670 times a day. And we find that each user is on his or her phone for 3 to 4 hours, depending on their manner of life and their lifestyle. When we look at teenagers, this changes drastically. Research shows us that the hours differ, and the range then going from 4 to 7 hours a day, in some cases even more. And that's for all smartphone users. Another study on millennials put the number at twice of that. In every study that I've read, most people that were surveyed had no clue how much time they are actually losing to their phones. A similar study found that just being in the same room as your phone, even if they are turned off, will reduce your working memory, and your problem-solving skills. What does this translate to? I want to say to you, our phones is making us stupid. It's making us dumber. As one summary of a report put it, if you grow dependent on your smartphone, it becomes a magical device that silently shouts your name at your brain all the time, consistently. And that's just use of our phones. If you go from there and you look at posting on social media, checking your emails, looking up what the weather is going to be like, those stats don't even touch on internet use, much less if we go and look at movie streaming such as Netflix. And so much time is lost in this bottomless pit, this black hole of the device. There's a Silicon Valley insider named Tristan Harris doing some really interesting work right now. And he's labeled by The Atlantic as the closest thing Silicon Valley has to a conscience. And he points out that slot machines makes more money than the film industry and baseball combined, even though they take only a few quarters at a time. Why? Because a slot machine is addictive. And those small amounts of money feels inconsequential at the moment that you are using it. It's just a few quarters, all right? Or $5 or $20. But over time, these things, they add up. In the same way, I want to say to you that your phone is addictive. And small moments grabs hold of you. It's a text here. It's a look here. Scroll quickly through Instagram. Quickly scan your email. Just search on to see what's going online. And all of that adds up to an extraordinary amount of time. So where does this leave us? It leaves us in a place where I want to make, as a pastor and a leader, a call upon you to take a step back and reevaluate your lifestyle. Reevaluate how you're using your phone, how much of your internet are dictating your manner of life and your lifestyle. I have not even touched on the subject of AI. God alone knows what these things are doing to our children's brains. If we look at the thought processes that goes into the building of these applications, and if we use Facebook, for example, as being one of the first, the question that Facebook asked is, how do we consume as much of your time and of your conscious attention as possible? And that means if we want to grab hold of your attention, that we need to sort of give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while. Because someone liked or commented on a photo that you've posted or another post that you've put somewhere, whatever. And that's going to get you to contribute more content, and that's going to get you more likes, and it's going to get you more comments, and you find yourself getting captured into this social validation feedback loop that is being generated all the time. The sad part of this is I see so many single people, older people, elderly people, young people, that is become asocial, do not have a friend environment, who now Facebook and social media has become their life. All their innings and outings is posted on Facebook. And the reality of the matter is that these are things that are exploiting a vulnerability in our human psychology. You must remember one thing: a company can get your money if and only if they can get your attention. And the sad part of it is that our attention span is dropping with every passing year. In 2000, before the digital revolution, our attention span was 12 seconds. It's not like we had a lot of room to move. But since then, if we look at what it is now, it's dropped to 8 seconds. Now, if you really want to put things into perspective, and that's maybe going to shock you, I want to say to you that a goldfish has got an attention span of 9 seconds. Yeah, that's right. You are losing to a goldfish. So we see that the odds are not in our favor. There are literally thousands of applications and devices that's intentionally engineered to steal your attention. And with stealing your attention, of course, also your money. You need to remind yourself that your phone does not actually work for you. You pay for it, yes, but it's working for a multi-billion-dollar corporation somewhere in China, California, or wherever. But it's not working for you because you are not the customer. You are the product. It is your attention that is for sale along with your peace of mind. I think we need to repeat this. You're not the customer, you are the product. And it's your attention that's for sale along with your peace of mind. There's a Microsoft researcher called Linda Stone that made a statement, and she said that continuous partial attention is our new normal. In other words, we've lost our ability to live a focused life. What am I trying to say to all of you with what I'm sharing here? I'm trying to sensitize you and bring you to a place of understanding that we have a big problem. And the problem is that even if we realize and that we have a digital addiction, we need to recognize it for what it is, and that is, it is an addiction. And the fact of the matter is that our willpower do not stand a chance against this dopamine effect of getting all the likes, getting all the shares. And that is even if we are willing to come to that place to admit that we have a problem, and most of us won't even do that. We won't recognize that I am addicted to my phone, I am addicted to social media. We have become a compulsive people because we are being drawn through compulsion in that relation to our phones. We have to check that last text. We have to click on Instagram. If there's a sound that comes in, that there's an email that has come in, we've got to check that email. But for most of us, we've gone way past that. And we're actually in a place, in a position that we've come to full-on addiction. And what is that? Addiction can be defined as that relentless pull to a substance or an activity that becomes so compulsive, it ultimately interferes with your everyday life. And if we look at that definition, I want to say to you that nearly everyone that I know, and in the circles where I move, pastors, leaders, school children, young people, all of them are addicted in some measure to the internet, and that includes everyone. Maybe you're getting angry with me now. That's fine. Let me challenge you. If you think you are the exception to the rule, I want to put a challenge before you. Okay? I'm going to ask you prove it. How? I want to turn off your phone for 24 hours straight just for one day. Call it for yourself something like a digital Sabbath day or a rest day, and see if you can make it through that day without giving into that itch to pick your phone back up, or without breaking out in a cold sweat because you are experiencing neurobiological withdrawal. I did this test with young people once when I was ministering at school, and the longest that one could handle it was for 3 hours. And that is scary if we see how we have been absorbed by these things. We must come to a place where we realize that although technology is a tool, although technology is there to stay, we must never accept it to be part of the natural order of our manner of life. Remember that every technological thing that you take into your hands, whether it's a television set, whether it's a computer, it's been created with a purpose and an agenda. And we need to scrutinize it and see what is its true effect on our quality of life. It will be good for us to create for ourselves a healthy suspicion of technology. You see, we must not fall into the gap and into the trap of believing that technological progress means human progress. Because something is newer and faster, it doesn't necessarily mean it's better. Don't get sucked into the capitalistic marketing ploy that companies are using. What looks to us like progression is often regression with an agenda. The truth of the matter is others get rich and you get distracted and addicted. And, Gandhi, for whoever and whatever he was a very wise man. And he made a statement and he said, there's more to life than increasing the speed of life. And I think we can learn from that. I think another group of people that we can truly learn from is the Amish. And so often we look at them and we criticize them. And I discovered that they don't necessarily reject all technology, but they come together as a community and they evaluate before they implement. And I think that is something that we can learn. If we look at the life of Jesus, there was a time when life was much, much slower than what we experience today. We look at the life of Jesus, there was no cars driving around, no planes that you've got to catch, no all-night study marathons and caffeinate yourself to make it through the night. There was no constant stream of alerts and messages on your phone. There were no bottomless holes of entertainment or long queues that you've got to stand. And it's become so easy for us to assume and to accept that this space of life in which we are living is normal. And I want to say to you today, it is not. We need to come to a place where we take back what belongs to us. Peace and quiet. We need to come back to that place that I said in the first session. Come to the Lord. You who are heavy laden, and find rest for your souls. If I look at life and I see it happening around me at the moment, I see that over the millennium, there was a slow and gradual acceleration. And if you look more recently, over the last couple of decades, we see that how the sheer velocity of our culture has reached an exponential fever pitch. Well, let me ask you a question. And my question is very simple. What is all of this distraction, this addiction, and this pace of life doing to your soul and to my soul? I want to leave you with this question. And I know I can quote you a lot of scriptures and all of that, but this is more of just throwing you a bone and say, let's take a step back, guys. So let's reevaluate our manner of life and our lifestyles and see whether that fallacy has embedded in itself in my own life. That I see wealth now as being running from the one place to the other place, being constantly busy, and no longer having the capacity and the ability to separate myself, slow down, and enjoy nature, enjoy the good things in life. It is my prayer that as you meditate on what I've shared with you here today, what I'm sharing with you is not perfect. I know there's much more that can be said. But if what I share with you here today can just start you on a journey to take a step back and reconsider the life that you are living, I will be very, very happy and satisfied. God bless you, and we'll speak again. And may you truly hear what the Spirit of the Lord is saying to you, and that you need to slow down, and that you need to reevaluate your quality of life. God bless you. Until we meet again, and speak to you soon again. God bless.